All right, guys, the Utah Jazz just ended their season, and honestly, a little surprised. I think a lot of people on this channel kind of expected it. I know I really just kind of figured they'd either lose tonight or get blown out tomorrow if they somehow found out to win. Turns out they lost the game tonight. It's the Hoops Nerd post game show. Let's talk about it all. What we expect to happen about the game, everything, the whole season. Let's do it. It's the Hoops Nerd post game show. All right, guys. So let's get started and let's just talk about the Dallas Mavericks first before we go. If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, here's your moment. Basically, Luka Doncic is incredible. He played 42 minutes tonight. I'm actually curious how that compares to Jazz minutes. Luka Doncic played 42. The Jazz didn't have any player that played over 38. Donovan Mitchell looks like he maxes out at 38. The Dallas Mavericks played 44 minutes of Reggie Bullock, 45 minutes of Dorian Finney-Smith, which is interesting, 42 minutes of Luka Doncic. They knew the rotation they needed to win the game, and they played it. And it absolutely helped them win the game tonight because these guys were studs. Reggie Bullock is a tough defender, and he can hit a three tonight, 33%. Dorian Finney-Smith, who I have a feeling that this guy says stuff on the floor. It's hard when you're watching it through the screen to hear it. I'm not a courtside watcher, so I don't know all the goings on, but it feels like this guy gets into it with like the Jazz players every game. And like we saw like Mike Conley get in his face in game 4 when the Jazz won. So this guy must be a talker, but look, 45 minutes, 53, 44, 18 points with 10 rebounds and 5 assists. Like, what a night for Dorian Finney-Smith. Congrats to the Dallas Mavericks and him. He was awesome. It's so funny to me that Dwight Powell, like, he plays 20 minutes or less every night, but he's the starter. Tonight, Dwight Powell plays 10 minutes, although I kind of love it. And the fact that, like, these 4 starters play 40 minutes, Jalen Brunson only plays 38, a measly 38 minutes. But Dwight Powell starts but plays 10 minutes. It's like what is, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like when your mom puts the paper towel on the plate. It lasts for like 5 minutes after she gives me a sloppy Joe and it's just soiled, okay? He gets pulled off the table real fast to bring in Maxi Kleber. And one thing we have learned is that Kleber is a good defender. And his 3 wasn't falling tonight, but man, the first 2 games of the season, it absolutely was the thing that really made a difference for this series for the Mavericks, because those 3s falling for Kleber the first 2 games were unbelievably important, because then it basically got the Dallas Mavericks by. It helps them win game 2. That game 2 from Kleber, those first 2 games were unreal, and basically just kept the Mavericks afloat until Luka Doncic came back. And then Luka Doncic, who is the story of the series. Although you look at the stats, I mean, the Jazz did a pretty decent job tonight. He just shoots 38% from the field, but 4 for 10 from 3. And these were basically those step backs that he loves. And a near triple-double with 9 rebounds, 8 assists, plus 15 for Luka. Don't forget that the 9 rebounds are huge. With how small the Mavericks go. Luka Doncic is just underrated in so many aspects. Basically a power forward that plays guard. It's unbelievable. So that you can have guys like Jalen Brunson play off the ball. You have Maxi Kleber who can space the floor. Spencer Dinwiddie can come in and play off the ball. Dinwiddie plays 31 minutes. Luka Doncic, 48 minutes a game. There were only 6 minutes where he was not on the floor. So big night for Luka Doncic, who is MVP caliber player, and congrats to Dallas Mavericks fans who get their first playoff series win since 2011, I think. Is that what they said? I think so. So, man, it's cold in my basement. I might need to let's get my warm electric blanket because we've got a lot to talk about tonight. All right, we've got the electric blankie. It's funny. It's colder down here during the summer because the air conditioner goes on. than it is in the winter when the heater's on. How does that work? Anyways, we got stuff to talk about. We got our electric blanket. Let's talk about it. All right, the Utah Jazz. Where do we begin? Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the season. And then let's talk about the future, right? So present, past, future. Let's do it. Also, I forgot my headphones if we wanted to listen to music. I guess we can't listen to music tonight. Let's see. Before we keep going, Andre Anthony Ailes, member for 4 months as a starter. Almost a win for the Jazz. Very close. And by the way, thank you, Andre, for being a part of the channel. Eric C stands for champion. Just reminding us, member for 13 months. He's an all-star. Let me get my Mexican coffee going for this one, LOL. I don't know what that means, but if it's a drink that keeps you up late, then let's do it. Let's do it. All right, let's talk about the game. It was a fun game. It was a good game. Really, I think the Jazz probably should have won it. They just made that. They had that last play with Mike Conley at the end where he travels near the basket, and it was a bummer because Mike Conley's had a pretty good game. Although you look at it, 40% from the field, 1 for 6 from 3. He did have 8 assists in the first half, but 0 in the second. Well, we got donations coming in. Thank you, Robert Hall of Fame. Who knew Bojan could guard? Guess if you want something bad enough. Too bad about the last shot. Could be a different story right now. I agree. And I think that's one of the major things of this series, and one of the major adjustments, I guess you could say, is that Bojan Bogdanovic being put on Jalen Brunson did a good job. I mean, you look at Jalen Brunson. Let's look at his numbers. Maybe he had a good night, actually. So I don't know how well it worked. But for the most part, I think most Jazz fans would agree watching Bojan Bogdanovic be our best defensive player was kind of a surprise. I did not expect that to happen, but it was awesome to see Bojan. And Bojan absolutely battled this series. I know he missed that last 3 at the end. It was wide open. Couldn't have been a better look. That's going to just absolutely eat him up forever. But it's also Mike Conley missing the layup. I mean, just traveling. What was that? Pretty much sums up the series. Couldn't hit threes when the Jazz couldn't hit threes when they needed to. Boneheaded plays. Mike Conley not showing up. It was really bad. Cook it up, ZZ, my man. $7.99. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Can we really be mad? Hopefully Butler can become our Brunson. Also, this was the most Jazz way to end the season. Blown lead, missed shots, bad rotation. Yeah, it was bad. It's funny. I shared a video on Twitter. I saw Rudy not close out, and it got more quick reaction than anything I've ever done. And most of it was Jazz fans going at me like, "This is Bogey's rotation. That's Bogey. That should have rotated." And I guess we can watch it. I believe it was a Dorian Finney-Smith 3. Let's just do it. People lost their mind. A shot Bogey make, yes. ARP 909, 179. Conley's turnover was brutal. It really was. Thank you for the donation, my friend. I really appreciate it. It was bad. I mean, there was no plan there, and it was bad. Let's look at that shot just out of curiosity, because that was something that I really made a lot of people mad. I made a lot of people mad tonight, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's see. Fourth quarter. Okay. Here's the pick and roll. Bogey's guarding the corner 3. Jalen Brunson, who, by the way, like we said, shot over, was it 50% from 3 or 40% from 3? He was having a big night. So Bogey's staying on him. Now, the Jazz had actually been rotating really well in this game. Here's Rudy. He is dropping. I guess at this point, I would like to... I mean, everyone's telling me that it should be Bogey's rotation. Honestly, how have these two not figured out how to guard a pick and roll yet? If anyone should be rotating, I would argue maybe at this point it's Royce. But they double Luka, and Luka's brilliant, and he finds the open man, which is Dorian Finney-Smith. In all honesty, who's making this rotation? Everyone's like, well, Bogey should make the rotation, because we see Rudy kind of move over here. Who's closer? I don't know if either of them's closer, but this is just a wide open shot. And the fact that the Jazz still don't really have a game plan that can shut this off is bonkers. It's 3 years with this starting unit. And this is like a wide open shot. Tie game, 4 minutes left. I mean, so here's what Rudy does. Everyone who apparently is a Jazz head coach is telling me whose rotation it is. This is supposed to be. I'm not going to pretend like I know if Bogey sees he's go there. Like, what's the difference? What's the circumference of the spherical rotation of this distance from here to here? It makes me wonder if really it should be Royce coming over here. But anyways, this is what happens. Rudy goes left. Apparently, Bogey should make that rotation. All right. All right. Okay. I guess that's the case. But, I mean, at some point, can Rudy I don't know. Maybe Rudy just doesn't know what Bogey's doing. And Bogey doesn't seem to know what Bogey's doing. And the Jazz are now eliminated. So, maybe it's Bojan supposed to rotate up. If it is, whatever. I kind of don't understand, because I just kind of feel like at this point, if we're doing drop big, and that's maybe the thing that is maybe the most frustrating thing, is like people will ask, well, like, why did the Jazz actually play pretty good defense when they brought in Pascal at center? Well, because you don't have situations like this where you have guys making mistakes. When you have a drop big and you have to have perfect rotations, you're going to have mistakes. And if it's Bojan's mistake, then great. I actually kind of feel like, you know what, Rudy, just run out there and challenge the shot. I mean, can he recognize? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know. If it's Bojan's rotation, then fine. My personal opinion, I'd rather see Rudy go out and contest the shot. Right? A Rudy contest on that is probably better than Bojan's anyway, right? I mean, he is the defensive player of the year. But I could be wrong. It could be like Bojan should contest that shot from the side. I mean, someone contesting the shot from the side is probably better than someone contesting it from in front of them. Or, no. I don't know. Am I just being a butthead? Am I just a butthead? I'm probably just a butthead. Cook it up, ZZ. Another donation from my man, $2.99. Thank you, sir. We needed Forrest. Forrest would have helped. He definitely would have helped. But he also can't hit shots, and they wouldn't have had to guard him. So I don't know what the answer is there. Robert Hall of Fame, my man, coming in. Game over, $1.99. Thank you, sir. I really, really appreciate it. Robert freaking Hall of Fame. That is right. But anyways, sorry, guys. I'm a butthead. I'm a jerk. I'm just a mean guy. All right. So anyways, have we talked about the game enough? So really, I have to say, even though Bojan missed that final three, what a bummer. He goes 3 for 6 from 3. We just needed it to be 4 for 6, and it would have been a Jazz win, and it would have been an epic win with like a game-winning 3-point shot from Bojan Bogdanovic. Instead, we go home sad. But 19 points for Bojan. Absolute stud tonight. Played his heart out. I really loved the fire from Bojan all series. He was fantastic. This Jazz team was just fatally flawed, and it's been fatally flawed for 3 years, but we will talk about that coming up. Mr. Make Your Own, thank you, my friend. End of season trade considerations. Conley has got to go surely. Hi from Sydney down under, by the way. Longtime Jazz fan. Favorite player was Malone. Number 24, by the way, not 32. Are we talking about Jeff Malone? Let's just see. Thank you for the $10, my friend, Mr. Make Your Own. Shout out to Mr. Make Your Own. I like the name. Let's see. Hey, I called it. Yeah, Jeff Malone, baby. Jeff Malone. Shout out to Mr. Make Your Own. And we're a narcissistic person, so shout out to me. $10. I really appreciate it. You guys, can I just say too, and I've got 2 more comments I want to get to. You guys are amazing. Can I just say thank you to everyone who supports this channel? Is it Post Malone? Can I just say everyone who supports this channel? I honestly love you guys. I do this channel for you guys, and I do it for my family because it is like an income, but I enjoy it. It's fun, and you guys support it. You make this what it is. It's growing. I do have a commission thing going. I don't know if everything I do is the right thing. I do things kind of by the gut, and I try to make the channel grow as best I can. But you guys supporting it is amazing, and these live streams are fun because I feel like it supports you guys who support the channel, and you guys are amazing. And so thank you for being a part of this channel in this season. I just want to say I appreciate it very, very much. You guys are amazing. You're the reason I do this, including my family, and you're amazing. And so thank you for the donations, but thank you for being members of the channel and supporting this. It's amazing. And you guys are, have I said it enough? Because I don't think I say it enough. We got to have some love for each other, and we got to say it. Popeye the Pimp, $2.99. My depression has finally ended tonight. We finally got put out of our misery. Can I just tell a story real quick based off of Popeye the Pimp? 10 years ago, so my current job I'm at right now, my day job, I really, truly enjoy. I have a lot of fun. I really enjoy the people I work with. They're fantastic, and I truly enjoy going to work. I was at an ad agency 10 years ago, and my life was the worst. It was the worst. I honestly had to go see a psychiatrist because of literal depression from my job. And it was the worst. It was honestly the worst. It was just, everything was going terrible. It was just a sinking ship. And at one point it all ended. Well, like, the thing that was funny is I was ready to quit. 2 weeks later, I don't even think it was 2 weeks. It was like a week after, like, I had this moment at the job where I called my wife and said, I can't do this anymore. I'm quitting. And she said, whatever you want to do is great. I support you with whatever you want to do. We talked about it, and I said, you know what? Instead of quitting, I'm just going to start looking, and I will eventually quit after I find something else. Well, a week later, I was let go. And I can tell you right now, the relief I felt at just not having to go to that stupid place ever again was just the biggest, just best feeling. And that's what this season ending kind of feels like a little bit. It's been just a rough season. It feels like we just had this finale at the end of last season where they lose to the Clippers. Tonight, it was even more bummer in that it just feels like this is the end of this chapter, and it really does need to end. So anyways, Popeye the Pimp, you got a story out of me. Captain Rex, $1.99, my friend, thank you so much. Trade Gobert to Golden State Warriors for Wiggins, Wiseman, Kuminga. I like that trade, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Robert Hall of Fame, but thank you, Captain Rex. I like that idea, and I'm going to try to get through all of these comments. We got a lot of donations and questions. Robert Hall of Fame coming in big again. Did you see the look on Ainge's face? I did last game. Holy smokes. Of Game 5, my gosh. My wife says my small donations to you are because you support Utah small business. That's right. Support small business. An LLC I got to create. Maybe. I don't know. I do pay taxes if the government's watching. I pay my taxes. Miles Bridges to Utah, 179. Maybe. That's a compelling trade idea because Rudy could help the defense over in Charlotte, and Miles Bridges would help with the athleticism and be at least fun. I don't know if you're good, but you're fun. Thank you, James. This channel is my jazz therapy. Austin R. Grant, the editor extraordinaire, $1.99. Thank you, Austin. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Austin, and all the all-stars, starters, and rookies. But you all-stars are amazing. You're, like we say, you're the ones who make the difference. I appreciate it. Christopher Cole, welcome to Rookie. We got a new rookie on our hands. We might have a lot of rookies on the Jazz this upcoming season if they do things right. If they do things right. We talked about it last season, and they wasted everyone's year. They wasted all of our time this year. Well, let's hope they don't waste our time again and do the right thing this offseason. Woo, I might need to go grab a soda quick, guys, but we'll see. Maybe not. All right, so we talked about the game. I think we're good. I mean, honestly is that Donovan Mitchell had a nice night, 52% from the field. The thing that was impressive is it looked like Donovan Mitchell from the first third of the season. Remember how the season started and Donovan was hitting his 2-point shots at like a historic rate for him? He was looking super, super dominant inside. The 3-point shot just struggled all year. Like Donovan had just a down year from three, and it really is what gave him. Ah, my nose is running. It's what gave him the down year scoring wise. It was this right here. The 3-point shot was just not falling for Donovan the way it was last year, and it hurt him. But Donovan with a near triple double. Look at that. I don't even think anyone realized. 8 rebounds, 9 assists. Donovan was fantastic tonight. And I know there's people out there that I don't really, honestly, I'm changing my Twitter habits next year. I saw a Twitter thread about it that I really liked. And there's some things I've done on Twitter to kind of make it less weird. But there's just people on there that just seem, the one thing I'm not going to miss from this season is the Rudy versus Donovan stuff. I like Rudy Gobert a lot. My work desk at work is basically a Rudy Gobert shrine. I have, honestly, so many Rudy Gobert things. My first Jazz jersey, honestly, I hadn't bought a Jazz jersey since 10 years ago. And it was, or 5 years ago, and it was Rudy Gobert. I love Rudy Gobert. Feels like Jazz fans need to sometimes be willing to recognize certain deficiencies. And if Rudy gets traded, it's going to be really sad because I love Rudy Gobert. I love Rudy Gobert. I really do. And I'm not just saying this. I love him. I'm going to be really bummed. We worked with Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert made charity donations to my work. He is fantastic. He is honestly, a genuinely nice, kind person. He's just great. And on the basketball court, he's one of the most dominant defensive big men that we'll ever see in this league, in the history of the league. But there are certain deficiencies that are there, and there are certain things, even on the defensive end, that are there. And it's okay to recognize it. It doesn't mean that you don't love Rudy. It just means that there are certain things that are hard to overcome. And this Jazz team has certain fatal flaws that they haven't been able to overcome. Christopher Cole, my man, $20, dude. Thank you so much, Christopher. You joined the channel and donated. Amazing. Amazing. Thanks for the season, brother. I just rejoined to say goodbye. Please don't give this money to Mike Conley. He earns enough and does bugger all for it. My dad says bugger, so thank you. That made me laugh. Love you, Jazz fans. And here's to a big change. Jeremy Grant. There's a name. So we've gotten a Jeremy Grant. But anyways, thank you again, Christopher. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the support. You guys are freaking awesome. Thank you so much. That's a big time donation, and I really appreciate it. But let's see, Jeremy Grant suggestion tonight, and not Mikal Bridges. Who was it? Bridges. Oh, I forgot his first name. Charlotte Bridges. Let's see who. Oh man, I can't. Miles Bridges. There we go. Miles Bridges. I really liked Miles Bridges in the draft, and it was not. I mean, he had just a bonkers start to the season, and then things tapered off. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't done I've watched Miles Bridges. I haven't done season-long deep dives like we do with the Jazz. Let's see. Map Gray. Thanks for the post-game shows, win or lose. Thank you, Map. I really appreciate it. My son's name is Gray, so there's a connection. But anyways, $2. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing for supporting the channel, and thank you, Map Gray. Cook It Up ZZ again with the donation. I saw this trade, Capella, Collins's, and 2 first-rounders for Gobert. That's the trade I've talked about a little bit, and I've seen a lot of Atlanta stuff too, and it makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you get 2 firsts. If you get Capella, Collins, and a first-rounder for Rudy, that's pretty good. You know what I would think about? Would you want a late first-round pick from Atlanta? Or would you be willing to take on Collins and Okongwu? I would love Okongwu because then that gives you a young center that you can do some interesting things with. And I think he's kind of that switchable center that you kind of need in the NBA. And I think Atlanta, since they've been so disappointing, they might be willing to Trae Young and Rudy Gobert is two surefire all-stars, and Trae Young is a great lob thrower. I mean, you remember that all-star game when he was throwing lobs to Rudy. It was pretty impressive, and I think Rudy's never played with a guy like that, and I think Atlanta'd be interested in that if that's the trade. That is the question. Like, do you just build around Donovan Mitchell? That's the question. Or do you just go full on do this right tank? I don't know. We shall see. But let's see. We also mentioned the Miles Bridges trade, and I don't want to pass up on. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the season, and we'll just go through the players really quick. Bojan Bogdanovic, everyone who follows this channel, I was up and down on Bojan throughout the year. I felt like his defense during the season was just not very good, but that's basically everyone on the Jazz not named Rudy Gobert. It's just not very good. I will always kind of wonder about Bojan, and I think he kind of proved this playoffs that he does definitely impact in a winning way. There are times during the season that I wondered, is it really that effective? And I do still feel like, you watch Larry Nance with what he did with the New Orleans Pelicans, and I just, I know people on here used to get mad at me, but I tell you what, it's nice to get the validation, all right? But anyways, Bojan Bogdanovic for Larry Nance was something I wanted to do, and that looked like a pretty good suggestion. Even though Bojan had he had a great playoff series, except let's not forget last game he was 0 for 9 with 2 points. The Jazz needed him to be big last game, and it just didn't happen. And so, it's spilt milk at this point, and I think basically you're looking at this offseason. Basically, sometimes you can tell what the Jazz want to do on what they make trades and what they do. And a lot of times it's like what they don't do. And the fact that the Jazz did not make any moves during this trade deadline really showed that they just don't think this core is it. Honestly, if there was any sort of tea leaf out there that told you what was going to happen this offseason, it was the fact that they made no trades at the trade deadline. Because what did the Jazz have? They had their 2026 first round pick. That was the only thing they could trade. And that pick you do not want to trade absolutely at all. Why? Because if Donovan Mitchell leaves, that 2026 pick becomes incredibly valuable, especially if the Jazz choose to build around Donovan and then he bolts in the last year of his contract. Woo! That is just absolutely devastating. And so they just did not trade it. And obviously there were probably teams out there willing to get it, but Danny Ainge did not want to build around this core anymore. And it's just, you can't argue it because they didn't do anything at the trade deadline. I'm sure if you trade your 2026 first, you can get Larry Nance, because we saw what he went to New Orleans for, and they didn't do it. So that it basically felt like the Jazz kind of knew that this was it for this this unit, and that they were going to say, well, just do what you can in the offseason and in the playoffs. And we saw what they could do. So Danny Ainge was right, Let's see. We had some more come in. We talked about that. Schwartz Shorts. I love the name, Schwartz. Snyder needs to go. The talent is there. Conley is not our third guy. Yeah, the Conley trade, here's the thing. First off, thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it. $4.99. I appreciate it a ton. I honestly, it's great. I'm humbled by you guys. Snyder needs to go. I agree. Whether you think Snyder's a good coach, I actually think Snyder's a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach, though. And I don't think after 8 years you've seen anything from Quinn Snyder that makes you think he should be the coach longer. I talk about this with my friends, and it's like, I wish that Jazz fans, if I could change one thing about Jazz fans, it would be to have a little more confidence in the Jazz and in yourself in general in life, but in Utah and the Jazz. Stop settling for mediocre. Stop settling for what you think is all you can do in life. That is not good policy for you in terms of life. and it's not good policy in building a team. If every decision you make is, well, I don't think I can do better, so I might as well just settle for this. Is that what we make with all our life's decisions? Jobs? Like who you choose as your significant other? If you just said, oh, this is the best I could do, so I better not make another choice. Well, that's pretty darn sad. Go out there and find your significant other that loves you and treats you and is attractive to you, okay? Stop settling for someone who doesn't treat you right. Okay? Stop settling. Go find yourself a significant other that makes you happy in your life, okay? And same goes for coaches and players in free agency. The Jazz got Bojan Bogdanovic in free agency. He chose to come here, okay? We know that there are players that want to come here, and they got him. They got him on a reasonable contract. Like, I would argue that Bojan Bogdanovic's contract is exactly what he is worth. It is not an overpay. He came to Utah. That's proof that you can bring people here. Stop saying this is the best we can do, so let's re-sign Mike Conley because there's nothing else we can do because we're Utah and everyone makes fun of us on Twitter, and so we have to settle for something that's a washed-up point guard that never showed up during the trade time. And the saddest thing of all for Jazz fans is the fact that we're giving our pick in this draft to Memphis, who has already lapped us. Because we don't believe in ourselves. Believe in you. Believe in yourself. Slap, 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 slap. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Ah! I'm shaking your shoulders right now. Whoever's watching this, believe in yourself. Stop settling for mediocre. Come on. All right, Robert Hall with the donation, $20. Robert, my man, the Hall of Fame. Super weird season, lots of ups and downs, but you're basically my favorite show on TV. Thank you, Robert. Forget Netflix. Elon Musk needs to buy Hoops Nerd for $40 billion. Oh, where do I sign? Because you make watching the Jazz awesome even when it's down. Go Jazz. Well, Robert, you make it awesome for me, and I appreciate you a ton. Thank you for being a part of this channel and everyone who supports. You guys are amazing. Amazing. Anyways, back to the point I was saying before. Stop settling for Quinn. Stop saying this is the best we can do. The best we can do is rotate Bogey onto Jalen Brunson, and we're acting like it's the absolute discovery of electricity by what's his, not Einstein, who discovered electricity? Tesla? Let's give Tesla the credit instead of Thomas Edison. It's like we're freaking Isaac Newton discovering gravity by putting Bogey on Brunson. We play Pascal at center for like 2 minutes. It goes incredibly well. Eric Pascal, who was a +1 in a loss, and we act like we discovered the atom. Like, it's just insane to me. You don't think we can do better than that? Great. The Jazz love him. Great. Why do they love him? Because he'll never bench you. If Quinn Snyder never benched you and you earned a $7 to $8 million contract like Royce O'Neal has, and you never receive a consequence for not guarding your guy at an elite level when you're the defensive stopper on the perimeter, of course you'd love him. Of course you would. Of course. If you're Donovan Mitchell, you don't have to guard, and you love, and you get to make all this money, get shoe deals, get a Supermax contract from the Jazz front office, and you never get benched. Everything goes the way you want. Of course you love him. Of course. If you're Rudy Gobert, you've never developed a hook shot in 8 years, and you get to play no matter what. You get to blame everyone else for the defensive shortcomings but you. But then on the offensive end, it's everyone else's fault that they didn't get you the ball. Forget the fact that you don't have a hook shot or a push shot or even dunk the ball when you have it. Of course you'd love Quinn Snyder. Of course you would. Right? Right? If you're Joe Ingles and you get to play despite the fact that before the ACL tear, and might I remind you, Joe Ingles tore his ACL. That's why he was traded. Although they wanted to trade him before and Quinn Snyder said no. So all of you who might have enjoyed having Harrison Barnes, someone who can actually defend and pass the ball and hit an open three, Quinn Snyder said no to that. But if you're Joe Ingles and you get to play, no matter how much poor defense you play, no matter how much your belly hangs over your basketball shorts because you didn't come into camp in shape, no matter what, you get to play because Quinn wants you in there. Of course you'd love Quinn Snyder. Of course you would. Of course you would. The revisionist history on Joe Ingles is absolutely blowing my mind, but I will never forget the fact that my belly looked somewhat like an NBA player's, and he was on the floor. It did not matter. This was an NBA body. This was an NBA body, and people don't even remember. They don't even talk about it. I have to listen to podcasts by Bill Simmons and Zach Lowe and local podcasts by contemporaries of mine that say that Joe Ingles being traded messed up the Jazz. He tore his ACL. He tore his ACL. And can we be honest about the fact that it might be possible that he tore his ACL because he came into camp out of shape and he's 33 or 4. What did we expect to happen? Now, ACLs are a fluke injury, but coming into to camp out of shape does not help. And then it does not help that the head coach of the Utah Jazz overplayed him. What did we expect? And the fact that the Jazz might have had a trade with Golden State, with Joe Ingles, that likely would have got us, what was his, Moses Moody, or whatever his name is, and now it's just gone. Devastating. Devastating. It was a devastating move. And that comes from Tim McMahon. This ain't some, account on Reddit talking about this stuff. That was Tim McMahon. That trade could have happened. It is just devastating. And we probably could have got Harrison Barnes at trade deadline, but Joe Ingles ACL tore. So there was just no... The revisionist history on Joe Ingles drives me crazy. And maybe I'm in problematic zones here, right? Maybe. The thing is Joe Ingles was 33, 34 years old, and you put that type of mileage on your legs, you're going to get hurt. It's just, the Jazz were not proactive this year in any way that they should have been. In any way. What did we expect? What did we expect? They didn't do anything. Rudy Gay? Rudy Gay? That? ARP 909, 179. Thank you, sir. The rant. We live for these moments. Anyways, there's my little rant for this season. That's all I got. But the Joe Ingles stuff drives me insane. The fact that we didn't, this last 3 years, the Jazz were not proactive in any way, shape, or form. And by the way, you cannot just blame the front office for that. That is Quinn too, because we know for a fact from this stuff we're reading that Quinn is involved in those decisions. And maybe Quinn wanted to draft Desmond Bane or something like that. Maybe, although I question it, because Desmond Bane would not be playing for the Utah Jazz if he was on the Utah Jazz. Why? Because I've seen Jared Butler not get a single minute this year. He did not play any playoff minutes. And, maybe that's not fair to Quinn to just say, well, Jared Butler should play. Well, guess what? We sure as heck could have used Jared Butler. If, like, let's say Jared Butler actually was pretty good, and when Mike Conley could not hit a three this entire series, might have helped. Bah. Rudy Gay. That was our offseason move. Besides re-sign washed up Mike Conley and bring back Jordan Clarkson, who, by the way, that was a good move. Tonight, it just sucks that 5 for 15. We were just depending on someone on this Jazz team having a monster night, and we just didn't really get it. No one over 23 points. You just needed a bigger night. Anyways, our big offseason acquisition was Rudy Gay, and people actually had the audacity. Like, I wasn't even anti it. I was just more like, I remember, and I have the receipts. We said, and I said, and it was more just like, hey, he's 36 and he's coming off foot surgery. I don't know if that's making me all that excited. And that seems like a lot to be banking everything on for a season that you're apparently running it back and have championship aspirations, right? That was my attitude. Turns out it was good to be a little tentative. It wasn't the home run move everyone made it out to be. Turns out the Jazz needed perimeter defense. But the thing is you can't trust your coach to even play the perimeter defenders. So even when we have them, they do not play. You're right? And Royce O'Neal started every single playoff game. And I guess, for all the, he had a good night tonight. Honestly, Royce had his best night of the night, although he went 0 for 5 from 3. Even just one would have been nice. Even just one. He did have all those nice buckets to the rim, but then you look at it, it's the 5 missed threes. Man, but these were 4 drives to the rim that were really nice. Hassan Whiteside was unplayable in this series, so it might have been a good idea to have a little more time with Pascal at center and being good at that during the season. That might have been a good idea. Maybe. I don't know. Daniel House plays 14 minutes. He had actually the worst game of his series. He didn't have a great series or night, but he did have a good series. I don't care what anyone says. The people that are the covering bases right now is pretty wild from certain media members, by the way. And let's talk about, all right, is that all I need to talk about? Well, I guess we talked about Rudy Gay, the offseason acquisition. I don't want to talk about the Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. We've basically just been proven that that's just a weird thing, and I just don't think they can be together anymore. Mike Conley sucked. It was just not good. And this season really taught me that advanced analytics are poo-poo if you don't take in context. Because Mike Conley just was not a good defender all year long. Mike Conley has been just a complete flop of a trade. At no point in the last 3 years has it worked out for the Jazz. All right, so it's a bummer. It really sucks. Juancho was surprisingly nice for the Jazz, but he only plays 9 minutes. Pascal plays 3 minutes 54, and he was positive. It was kind of a last-ditch effort. It's interesting. Royce O'Neal was a plus 11, though. So Royce had probably the best game of his playoffs. So shout out to Royce for the plus 11. There you go. Good job, Royce. I was rooting for Royce, too. Royce just cannot stay in front of quick guards. He just can't. And when you have Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell, who are both 6'1" at best, they just can't guard. So you have Royce O'Neal, who can't stay in front of quick guards. You have Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, who have just not been good defenders. And Mike Conley went, literally every time Luka Doncic sees Mike Conley, he just backs him down. It's just, it's tough to watch. Rough series, man. And it's just a flawed team. It was a fun team. But it was a very, very flawed team that just easily schemed out by any coach worth anything. So, all right, let's see. Is there anything else we need to say? We talked about the Rudy Gay acquisition. We talked about how Quinn hates to play young players, Jared Butler. We watch Herb Jones. The Jazz liked Herb Jones, by the way. I believe they even bring in Herb Jones to work out, and I think they really liked him. They just didn't draft him. And the thing that sucks is you're seeing Herb Jones with the Pelicans absolutely flourish. And if he was on the Jazz, he wouldn't have even played a minute. Like literally a single minute. Why? Because he can't shoot 40% from three. But that's one thing I'm going to be excited about for the future. I mean, I really can't wait for this coach to not be the coach anymore. I cannot wait. I can't wait. Should we have a Hoops Nerd party when it happens? Can we do a Hoops Nerd post-Quinn Snyder party? It's a party. We should do a party. Everyone bring your Mountain Dews and some sort of food, and we're just going to eat together and just have moments where we talk about how nice it's going to be. The fact that we might see our young players get some minutes. It'll be really nice. Christian House Money to Haas, $5. I made it. Well, you know what, Christian? I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad. Save the date. Save the date. We are having a post-Quinn Snyder party. Snyder Gana-rama. And anyone who feels bad, he makes like $5 million a year. He's fine. Cool it. All right. He makes enough money, and he has enough people in the market who will literally tell, hey, Gwen, what should I tweet tonight? Let me know what I should tweet. And then they do. All right. He's got plenty of supporters. I mean, he basically, oh, do I even want to go there? Do I even want to say the name? Oh my gosh. All right, I got to scroll up. Hoops, scroll up. Let's see. All right, I got to go up. Let's see. Okay, Ezekiel Raisibe, my man from down under. I fear Donovan's heart is not in Utah anymore. To lose in playoffs, giving up leads in playoffs for 3 years in a row is absolutely demoralizing for an ultra-high competitor. By the way, Ezekiel Raisibe, the man from down under, all-star on the channel and all-star in my heart. Anyways, I agree. At some point, you have to accept the evidence that is in front of your eyes. Like, we look past it, but if it's right there, look at it. Accept it for what it is. A few lines, kind of chubby, short fingers, weird body. No, I'm just kidding. But you have to just accept like what you're seeing. And if there are rumors there, and maybe, Stephen A. Smith may be starting rumors. He's obviously very big on Donovan going to New York, which honestly, there is like a package with New York that seems really compelling if I'm a Jazz fan. But we're going to talk about that actually. I think that you shouldn't have anything off the table this offseason. And Danny Ainge, just a reminder, he's in charge. I know a lot of these media members online like to say things like, I don't know who's in charge. It's really confusing. Who is the CEO of this team? His name is Danny Ainge. And some of these people who make these comments, I'm like, have you worked in a corporate environment at any point in your life? I'm telling you right now, there's managers and there's CEOs. And the manager runs the day-to-day. He makes like the decisions, the grit and grind, the day-to-day, the stuff. He may do negotiations, hire new employees, things like that. Run negotiations, contract work, day-to-day grind, managing coaches and situations and practice facilities and all these things. The CEO, when the CEO walks into your office and says, this is what I want to do, what happens? That's what you do, right? Anyone here work a day job that has managers and a CEO? If your CEO walks into your office and you're like your faithful employee and then you've got your manager and then the CEO walks in, guess what? Chances are everyone in that room knows who's making the decision at the end of the day, right? Does anyone disagree with me? I think we would all agree that what that CEO says kind of goes. Jordan the GOAT, best rule. $9.99. Thank you, my friend, so much. Thank you, sir. Quinn needs to be fired by this weekend. Yeah. Let's throw a party, baby. Let's throw a party. Quinn Snyder, fire Snyder party. It's getting late. I'm gaining strength, though. And hopefully Ainge can turn Conley into a first-round pick. Thanks for the season, James. I agree. Jordan Go Best Role also adds no one is untouchable this offseason. I also agree. All right, let's talk about the offseason. Let's just pull this up. Utah Jazz roster. Let's pull it up. Okay. Utah Jazz roster. Who's the... Oh, by the way, have you guys seen this? This is kind of hilarious. Go search. Oh, whoops. Oh, it switched back. No. Someone saw. Earlier today, literally, if you searched Utah Jazz owner, it went and it said Jalen Brunson. And I'm not going to lie. It's funny. It just is. All right. Let's pull up the Utah Jazz roster. Let's go to the ESPN site. Let's give them some love. Anyone here heard of ESPN? All right. Send the check to me, ESPN. Elon Musk, send me $40 billion. Sounds like he might not be buying Twitter now. Well, can you at least give me we know you're good for it. What's $1 billion between friends? Anyways, Utah Jazz roster. Let's just go up and down the line. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I would say pretty likely he's on the Jazz next year. I don't know what his contract is. Does it say? No. Well, good job, ESPN, not having contracts. Udoka Azubuike on the Jazz next season? I bet you he is. That's a yes or no. I don't think we need to dive into too much of that because it's not really doing anything. Bojan Bogdanovic. Okay. How do I want to do this? I want to do this the right way. We may be going to bed at 4 a.m. I don't know. Probably not, though. Just watch me, pass out. Eventually, I'll forget the live stream's going and everyone's watching. They're just like, did he die? Or is he just sleeping? There's really so one thing I'm going to write for SLC Dunk, and since you're watching this, you guys get the idea. Or first, I'm going to do a Utah Jazz choose your own adventure. And it's going to go, you remember the R.L. Stein books, the Utah Jazz choose your own adventure? That's what I'm going to write, and I'm going to give options for every fan. And at the end, I'm going to put a little poll and see which option Jazz fans choose. And it's very important. And guess what? Justin Zanuck reads SLC Dunk, and he'll see it. So you'll have your chance to influence the Utah Jazz GM, all right? So go there and make a vote. But that's going to go up tomorrow. I actually took the day off tomorrow already from work because I knew the Jazz would lose. And I was just like, I'm going to be late on my show, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm sorry to everyone else. Hopefully you have my permission to call in sick to work tomorrow. Everyone is sick in their hearts, all right? Okay, the first option in Jazz choose your own adventure is do the same thing. Just run it back. You're over the cap, but you love this team. You're just going to run it back, and you just want a lot more sadness next year and disappointment. You're just keeping the coach. You're keeping Mike Conley. You're keeping all these guys, and you just say, they just had a bad mojo because Joe Ingles was gone. So you go and you re-sign Ingles. You overpay a player that didn't play good defense before his ACL was torn, but now you want him back post ACL because 35-year-olds or whatever he is post ACL surgery turn out to be great defenders typically, right? And you just run it back and you just hope that that's good enough. That's option one. Likely not going to happen. Option two is fire Quinn Snyder. And maybe you kind of go with the same core. Maybe you trade a few pieces. Maybe you see if you can get something from Mike Conley, and or maybe you just keep the same core, but you just fire Quinn because you believe this core is it, and it's just Quinn's fault. Maybe. I think that's at the minimum what the Jazz are going to do. Percentage chance that happens, 95%. Not I don't know how you bring Quinn Snyder back. Honestly, if they bring Quinn Snyder back, I don't know how you. I honestly, if you bring Quinn Snyder back, Danny Ainge has no loyalty to him. He has no loyalty to any of these players. I just don't know how. I honestly, the wording of the tweet is going to be something like this. Is going to be the Jazz and Quinn Snyder have decided to mutually part ways. They feel as though it's the right time to look for new opportunities or something like that. And that's going to be the tweet, guys. That's going to be the tweet or something along those lines. And it's going to be like a PR tweet for both sides. Try to make Quinn look good. The Jazz do that. I've heard some things from things that that there were things going on. I won't even delve into it because I'm not supposed to say it. But anyways, the Jazz try to help certain guys that they let go look good. We saw it with Ty Corbin. It wasn't that we fired him. It's that we just chose to not renew his contract. Right? So anyways, that's the same thing. Quinn has like another year on his contract, but they kept like leaking information that he would somehow like they've tried to re-sign him. That is so baloney. That is so like it is so baloney and such like PR talk. Absolutely. Because honestly, who might actually be saying that is Danny Ainge. Not because he actually wants to re-sign Quinn, but because he might be looking for some sort of leverage. Because remember, Danny Ainge traded Doc Rivers. Remember? He traded a coach. The Jazz GM is the guy who made a trade with their coach. And since Quinn has that, maybe you trade Quinn to LA. Right? Like, wouldn't that be a crazy offseason? The Jazz just went full-on crazy tank. They trade Quinn Snyder for Russell Westbrook. They just, don't play Westbrook or waive him or just trade him for literally whatever offer anyone else gets. But you get, LA's pick from, 20... They don't have their next pick for, 3 years anyway. And that's when LeBron will be washed. And you get, a great pick. And then you just, waive Westbrook. And you just play Jared Butler. And you get picks in this draft, from other teams for certain guys. That's, the crazy offseason. Could you imagine if the Jazz traded Quinn Snyder for Russell Westbrook? It makes LA ecstatic because they get to get rid of their fall guy. And it wasn't Vogel's fault. And they bring in Quinn Snyder. You get picks plus Westbrook. You just waive him, or trade him for a second to anyone who will take him, and then you just tank, right? Did I just lose 10 subscribers? Just a thought. Just a thought. Just throwing it out there. Anyways, the next option is you trade Rudy Gobert. Right? That's the next option. You keep Donovan, you build around Donovan, you trade Rudy Gobert, and you say, we love Rudy Gobert, we know he's incredible, we just feel like we have done everything we can the last 8 years to make things work with Rudy Gobert as a cornerstone, and it just we just haven't been able to get over the top. That's probably your logic, and you trade him. And some of these trade ideas are pretty good. For Miles Bridges, that's interesting. I think you're a worse team at that point. Rudy Gobert is a better player than Miles Bridges. He helps you win, so you're worse. But you are a fun team. Miles Bridges has an incredible dunk every single game, at least one. He won't be getting lobs like he gets from LaMelo, but he is an incredible athlete, and he does stretch the floor. And so the Jazz finally get their power forward they've been looking for at the cost of their all-star center. So that's an option. And I bet you Charlotte does that, to be honest, because Miles Bridges wants a max. And so that would be kind of the rare sign and trade for Charlotte, where Charlotte signs Miles Bridges to a supermax, and they have to do that because then you can make the trade work with Rudy Gobert. Maybe. And so maybe you do that, and then maybe Mike Conley gets you a few other pieces that kind of fit around Donovan Mitchell. It's an interesting idea. It would be a fun team. I don't think it's a championship team, but it would be a fun team. And you have a spread floor, and maybe you go full on offense and just, you know, maybe you can find someone at the trade deadline the next year, and you just go from there. Maybe. Uh Maybe. We'll see. And there have been rumbling. That's probably what the Jazz do is they fire, like, here's my prediction. They fire Snyder and not fire. They trade Rudy Gobert. The other mention that I really liked, and someone mentioned it here already, we talked about it already kind of, is John Collins and maybe Clint Capella for Rudy Gobert. I think Atlanta does that in a second, honestly. I think Atlanta does that in a heartbeat. And that's why I think you could get Okongwu and John Collins. I like Okongwu, and I feel like he hasn't really gotten a fair shake. And I think if you had a coach on the Jazz that was willing to play young players, you can bring in Okongwu, have him play with John Collins. John Collins, who seems to get along with Donovan Mitchell, and John Collins is that power forward we've all wanted. And John Collins is actually like an average defender. He's gotten better. He tries. He's not like a good defender, but I'd say he's average. So he'd fit right in with the Utah Jazz. And Okongwu, I think, is a nice uh, center prospect. I don't think he's like perfect, but he has like the tools to be something pretty nice. And so that's something interesting, and you have a team now that's Donovan and John Collins. You probably at that point also trade Mike Conley to see whatever you can get. The thing is let's go to the um like I don't know who is taking Mike Conley other than it's like one of these teams right here that's taking Mike Conley. It's not one of these teams. They don't need him, right? You go to the West as well. Like these guys aren't trading for Mike Conley. They don't need Mike Conley. Maybe the Warriors, maybe because they do need a little playmaking, but they don't really need him. They aren't going to give him anything big. Uh, and we saw the Mavericks. They might actually have, but they have Dinwiddie now, and Dinwiddie's a better player than Mike Conley at this point. So the Mavericks aren't doing that. It's kind of like this area. You might be able to make a trade, and maybe you get like a late first round pick or something, or maybe like a young player that hasn't really quite worked out. We did that with Nickeil Alexander-Walker though, and honestly, Jared Butler should have just played more than him. But, it's kind of like these teams, and maybe someone in this range who's just on the verge of the playoffs. The Lakers might be interested in Mike Conley, to be honest. But like someone in here, maybe the Knicks, I don't know. They want Donovan Mitchell, obviously, but Cavaliers wouldn't want him. Hornets don't need him. They got LaMelo. The Nets might be interested in Mike Conley, although they've got too many small guys as well. There's just not a lot of landing spots for Mike Conley. So it's kind of, there's a few teams that might want him maybe as like an off the bench player. I just don't know. Maybe you can get a late first rounder though for him for a team that's looking to get like an acquisition next offseason. There'll be somebody that might want Mike Conley for like a final push in the playoffs next year. So that's the other option. You trade Rudy Gobert and you get something like that, like the Miles Bridges. That's an interesting idea. That's something that I think is doable. John Collins and Okongwu, I like that idea. And maybe a first, if you can get a first. They might be willing to throw in first because it's a late first round pick. I know Toronto had interest in Rudy Gobert. So you look at Toronto. Let's see. Where was Toronto? Toronto was actually pretty good this year. Toronto fell right there, the 5. They are a team that I could see being interested in Rudy Gobert, just having incredible length and then defenders at every position. I mean, the defense for the Raptors would be out of this world. But you're taking, I guess they're giving you Pascal Siakam, and so then you've got Rudy Gobert, and then their 4 is Scotty Barnes, and that's interesting. They might like that. I don't know. But you get Donovan and Pascal Siakam. Pascal had a really good year. He was borderline All-NBA, All-Star. He's a good player. So in a lot of ways, that's probably equal value, or at least close to. You're good. The thing that's interesting about Rudy Gobert trades is I don't think you're any better. Most of them you're just a little bit worse. That's what takes us to our next option. Well, then you keep Rudy Gobert because he's in his prime, and you trade Donovan Mitchell, and you try to trade high. Uh I don't know if there's a team out there that is like trading their, because Donovan Mitchell's kind of entering his prime right now. And I don't know if there's any team out there that's swapping their star for Donovan, uh, that you're getting equal value in terms of just like a straight up star for star. Like the Suns aren't trading you Devin Booker for Donovan Mitchell. I think this season's basically proven, as painful as it is, that Devin Booker's probably just, because Devin Booker's a better defender. I think Donovan still's a little more dynamic offensively, but this year the numbers weren't there. They're not trading Devin Booker for Donovan Mitchell. Like, who are the Grizzlies trading us? I guess the Grizzlies might be willing to trade you Desmond Bane for Donovan Mitchell. Maybe. But even then, I don't know if that's for sure, because Ja's not a very good defender and Donovan's not a very good defender. So they're probably not doing that. How sad is that? The Warriors don't need him. They have Poole and he's looking really good, and they have Steph and Clay. The Mavericks, maybe. They might actually, because he's a dynamic player, but they have Jalen Brunson. So why would they give anything of value? I mean, they might be willing to trade Jalen Brunson for Donovan Mitchell. And actually, that's a trade that's interesting. You might be able to get Jalen Brunson, because I don't know if the Mavericks want to pay Jalen Brunson, but in a situation like that, they could they could sign Jalen Brunson and trade him to the Jazz. That's actually a candidate for Rudy Gobert. Like, the Mavericks probably offer signing Jalen Brunson and sending him to the Jazz, and then you have Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell. But is that a team you're like super excited about if you're the Jazz? Jalen Brunson's really good, but I don't think he might be a slightly better playmaker than Donovan, but I actually don't think that's for sure. And so you've got two score first undersized guards, and we kind of know what that is a little bit already. Donovan Mitchell it gets interesting. Like, I guess you could trade him to the Spurs for DeJounte Murray. I probably don't even say that right. DeJounte Murray, who's really nice. Maybe they want like an impact scorer that's really fun. But if you're the Spurs, I don't know what the Spurs are doing, by the way, but they might be willing to do that. Would you trade him for DeJounte Murray, and then you have a better point of attack defender in DeJounte, and then maybe you trade Mike Conley for a better wing? And that's actually pretty interesting. You know, it hurts my heart, but DeJounte for Donovan, that's probably a trade both teams might consider. I don't know if that happens, but it's interesting, right? It's interesting. Lakers would love Donovan Mitchell, but they're going to offer you Russell Westbrook, and the Jazz aren't doing that. Kings would probably be interested in Donovan Mitchell, but you're probably swapping Donovan for Fox, and I just don't know if Fox makes you any better. Trailblazers, we know that his name's Dame, but they're not trading him. I mean, actually, they might actually think about that. That's interesting. The thing is Dame's coming off of like stomach surgery, ab surgery or something. It's like a scary thing, and I don't know if you want to trade Donovan for Dame, who might be on his last legs. You don't even know. You know, I know we talked about like Chris Paul, and so maybe that is the right move. Maybe you go to the Blazers and they might be willing to do it. Dame for Mitchell, but you only have 1 or 2 years left of Dame. You probably get one more good year of Dame, and then he's with Rudy Gobert. But you're still not fixing your defense. Maybe you can find better defenders around Dame, though. It's interesting. And then there's the Thunder, SGA for Donovan, but I don't know if the Thunder do that. And the Rockets are tanking, but they might be willing. Rockets might be willing. You never know. Maybe they want to put Donovan around around Jalen Green, although he's a terrible defender. Great offensive prospect, but as a defender, he's just not, he's not there. So really interesting. I don't know if any of those things happen. So I don't know, guys. That's kind of the route. The other route with Donovan Mitchell is that you get a treasure trove of picks and maybe young prospects like we talked about. Maybe Rudy Gobert gets you, like the trade we mentioned before, maybe Rudy Gobert gets you Wiseman and Wiggins and Kuminga. If you can get that for Rudy, that's incredible. If I'm doing that, I'm probably trading. So what if you get Wiseman, Kuminga, and Andrew Wiggins for Rudy, and you go to New York and they give you Randall, they give you their top pick. So look, here's the standings this year. Let's go to Tankathon. We haven't been there for a while. We might be next year, though. Hopefully we are. But let's see. Where's New York? They're 11. Let's say New York jumps and gets into the top. Let's sim the lottery here. By the way, this site is pretty fun. Oh, my gosh. Look at that. New York jumps to number 4. Let's say they jumped to number 4 and they said, hey, we'll give you the number 4 pick for Rudy Gobert or for Donovan Mitchell. And all of a sudden, the Jazz already have a top 4 pick in this draft. You jumpstart your rebuild, and the New York Knicks get their homegrown star that they can have fun with and be interesting and fun. And you get Julius Randle and Kuminga and Wiseman and Wiggins, and you are the weirdest team in the NBA. And you trade those guys for whatever you can to other teams, and you just get picks. And you're bad, but you get a top 4 pick in this draft. NBA draft mock 2022. Let's just look at it. Unless we're behind a paywall here, and I don't do the paywall. Nope. Well, no click for me. Anyways, you get a number 4 pick, and who do you get? Jaden Ivey. And he's your, I haven't even done prospects this year, but he's your, from what I know about him, he's an incredible athlete. Explosive athlete. So you get Jaden Ivey as a shooting guard, and you start over and you build around this guy. Then you're bad next year, and you get another top 4 pick, and then hopefully out of that you get your star. That's basically option 3. Is you trade Rudy and Donovan. You trade everyone for every pick you can possibly get, all the best draft assets you can, and you just start a rebuild and you do it right. That's what I want to do. That's what I would like to do, because I think Donovan is leaving in 3 years. Why not start now and do it right? You need at least 2 years of tanking, 2 to 3, to go get your star. You just need to. Because guess what? This year, if you were able to do that, and you were able to pull a top 4 pick, and you can get a guy like this, and you start building around this guy, and then you just play him next year and just develop him, and then the next year you get another top 4 pick because you just become as bad as you can. Look, Houston had the worst record in their league. They're going to get the number 2 pick. Orlando drops to 5, but that's a top 5 pick for them. Detroit, that's crazy. The lottery now is just wild. But anyways, you go and you get like a top 5 pick, and you just build at that point. Here's why I would do that. And I know some people are like, no, I don't like that. When's the last time the Jazz got to the finals? Who led that team? His name was Karl Malone. And what was Karl Malone? He was an MVP. Karl Malone was MVP. To make it and win the finals, you need an MVP. You just do. The idea that you build the Detroit Pistons of 2004 and you win with a collection of talent just rarely happens. You need an MVP or an MVP caliber player. Last year, who was it? Who won the finals last year? Giannis. Giannis was out of this world. He was the most dominant, most incredible player of the playoffs last year. He just was. He just was. He was incredible. MVP. Who was it the year before? LeBron. The bubble playoffs. LeBron and AD. They had 2 top 5 players. At that point, AD was playing like a top 5 player. And LeBron was is a former multi-year MVP. He's unbelievable. You need that guy. For the Jazz, who got him to the finals? Karl Malone. And then he had the perfect complementary Robin, one of the best Robins ever, but John Stockton, who was just the perfect complement to Karl Malone. And that's how you got there. But you needed an MVP. You needed it. I love Donovan Mitchell. I love Rudy Gobert. Neither of them is an MVP. Right? You could argue top 10 player. Sure. When they're at their best, like a top 10 player. And even like both. But I don't think anyone would ever say Donovan Mitchell's a top 5 player in the league. Right? That's no insult to Donovan Mitchell. But he's like a top 15 player when he's at his best, right? Same with Rudy Gobert. As good as Rudy Gobert is defensively, the offensive limitations are unquestionable. And so it just keeps Rudy Gobert from being an MVP. If Rudy Gobert had a high-level offensive game, he'd be like an MVP. But he doesn't have it, right? And so that's what puts him in the 10 to 15 range. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean Rudy Gobert's not great. That means you're one of the 15 best basketball players in the entire world. But that means also that there are like 10 guys that are better. And they have guys that complement what they do. Giannis has Drew Holiday, who's one of the best perimeter defenders in the last 10, 15 years. And Chris Middleton, top 20, top 30 guy that just hit big shots in the playoffs. And they just had this perfect complementary system around Giannis, and they won a finals. But they needed an MVP. The Bucks don't win that if they don't have Giannis, who is arguably the best player in the NBA. Same goes with LeBron and the Lakers. And before that, the Warriors, KD, Steph, multiple MVPs, right? It's what it takes. And so the question Jazz fans have to ask themselves is, what do you want? What do you want, Jazz fans? What do you want? Do you want to just be in the playoffs this year? Every year? Well, they were in the playoffs this year. And honestly, there was less interest this year for the Jazz than I've ever seen. It was one of the least fun seasons overall that I've ever seen. I still enjoyed it, but it was like everyone knew what was going to happen. Was anyone surprised by tonight? Was anyone surprised? I was not surprised. Whether you're a big Rudy fan, whether you're a big Donovan fan, whether you're whatever else, neither camp was surprised. Right? Who was surprised? Rudy stands? Donovan stands? What was it? The somethings and McCoys? Everyone was not surprised. And I love Rudy Gobert. I love Donovan Mitchell. I love everything about him. I just don't know if them together is good enough to go to the championship. But if you just like making the playoffs, then that's fine. Then it works. You're not going very far, but you will be in the playoffs. But that's what's funny to me is I'll see people online say, "Oh, I could never tank. I couldn't believe you could ever want that." And in the same breath, talk about how annoyed they are with this team. And it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want playoffs or do you want a championship? If you want a championship, guess what? You are in Utah. And like I said, you can get Bojan Bogdanovic, and that was great. You can get free agents. And so maybe I should be a little follow your own narrative. But Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and Bojan Bogdanovic is probably not good enough to go all the way because you don't have an MVP. It's good enough to be in the playoffs. Good enough to maybe win the first round. But it hasn't worked. And I just don't know if anyone was all that happy with this season. The excitement level for this season was just not the same as it was last year. And it was just because it was the same thing. And everyone just kind of knew. And there was so much drama and craziness that it was just it wasn't that fun at times, It was a weird year. It was hard to do some of these post-game shows this year because what do you say at certain points? And I managed to say a lot, strangely enough, but it's just a weird year. And is that what Jazz fans want again? Is that really what you want again? Is just it's yeah, you're a playoff team. Congrats. Put up a banner. But you're not winning a title. And Giannis is not coming to Utah, yeah, you might be able to go get like maybe you can go get like a Carlos Boozer signing. Maybe there's someone like Charlotte or maybe like Dallas really makes Brunson mad and you just straight up sign Brunson and then you just go Brunson, Mitchell, Gobert and then you find a way to get some better defenders around them, but you're still even like if it's Brunson, Mitchell and Gobert, is that championship team? I don't know. I don't think so. Um So that is the argument for tanking is that if you want to win a championship, if that's what you want, if you want to put a banner up in Vivint Smart Home Arena or Vivint Arena, is that what they call it now? If you want a banner that says NBA champions, if you want a golden trophy that sits on a stand, man, I'm going to get emotional just thinking about it. But all of us walk by as we walk through the Jazz Stadium in Vivint Arena on a stand with a glass case around a golden trophy that we all get to look at. And we all get to like touch the glass as you walk by for good luck. And remember that we won that title. To do that in Utah, you're going to need an MVP, and you're only getting one of those guys in the draft. It's just the way it goes. It's late. So if that's what you want, that's what you've got to do. And that's what it takes if you want a title. Are you willing to do it? The Oklahoma City Thunder are willing to do it. And now they have a great guard. I'm getting too tired to remember names now, but they've got a great guard in Josh Giddey, who looks like a nice cornerstone piece. They've got SGA, and they're going to get a nice pick in this draft. According to this, they will get, oh man, they dropped to 7. Let's do it. Let's reset it. So here's where they're at right now. Wow, I didn't realize Oklahoma City was 4. Wow. Although, you know what's funny is they have just as much chance to drop to top 4, 48%. That's what's so crazy about the lottery. It's wild. So let's sim it again just for fun. New York jumps to 4 again. Sounds like we should trade for that pick. Oklahoma City goes to 3, Detroit 2, and Orlando gets the number 1 overall pick. This is going to be a wild draft, by the way. I don't think there's like a consensus number 1 pick. Anyways, that's what you have to do if you want to win a title in Utah, because you have to draft that guy. The Jazz have gotten, and by the way, the Jazz have done it before. That's how they got Deron Williams. And that Deron Williams team went farther than this team did. And they tanked for Deron. They should have tanked another year to get another star next to him, but they didn't. And that's what it takes. Malone needed Stockton. Jordan needed Pippen. LeBron needed AD. Giannis needed Drew and Middleton. Well, Giannis needed Drew. Right? It's what it takes. You have to tank to get that MVP, and then you've got to find that second guy. And you either get it in the draft, or you get it in a trade, or you get it in free agency. And the Jazz get him either through draft or trade. And you're likely not getting a MVP in trade, because who trades an MVP? Nobody. MVPs decide where they go. Right? You're not trading for an MVP, so you got to draft them. That's what you need. It's like getting a star quarterback in the NFL. You're not winning the Super Bowl unless you have like an MVP caliber quarterback. Same goes for the NBA. You need an MVP caliber player, usually like a large wing of some sort. Or, Jokic won MVP, but all the players on his team got hurt. But anyways, I think that's it tonight, guys. That's the future. I guess, should we end with a prediction? Everyone keeps saying online they're going to build around Donovan. And I guess I can kind of see that. Maybe Danny Ainge has some tricks up his sleeve that he can go get a stud. But I guess that's my prediction. Quinn Snyder's going to be fired. Rudy Gobert traded. Mike Conley traded. Maybe they keep Bojan Bogdanovic. Everyone else is going to be different. Jared Butler gets minutes next year. New head coach. And we watch Rudy Gobert getting lobs in Atlanta for John Collins and Onyeka Okongwu. And the Jazz have a young center to build around. They have a nice young prospect in John Collins who fits Donovan's timeline a little better. And it's Donovan Mitchell's team. And they build around Donovan Mitchell's skill set. And I think Royce might be traded. But I think they're going to, at next year, I think it's going to be built around Donovan. I think that's what they're going to do. It's not what I would do. It's not what I would do. We just talked about what I would do. But they trade those pieces, and we watched someone else draft Wembanyama, who is Rudy Gobert with and Dirk Nowitzki offensive game. And that will make me sad. But I would love to see Wembanyama on the Jazz. Ezekiel Ricibe, $10. Thanks for a great season. God bless you, brother. Keep up the great work and see you next season. You bet. And guess what, guys? This isn't the end. We're going to do off-season stuff. I'm going to try because I don't want this channel to kind of die off in the off-season and just be regular season. We'll do this channel. We'll do videos. We'll do videos about picks, and maybe we'll do let's do a weekly. Well, I don't know if we'll do weekly, but we'll do live streams at least for the members. The All-Stars. We're going to do chats with the All-Stars because I'll have the time, and I think maybe that's how we evolve that, is doing the off-season All-Star chats, because it's been hard for me to find time. I'm honestly exhausted, guys. I can't tell you how exhausted I am. It's crazy. Full-time job plus covering the Utah Jazz for SLC Dunk plus this is just, it's crazy. And so I actually have to go to SLC Dunk right now and put that up. So FYF Sports Debates. Welcome to Rookie. Thanks for joining the channel, FYF Sports Debates. Welcome to the channel. I guess that's all I got tonight, guys. We'll see, but I want to try to do those all-star chats just so we can talk about the Jazz and talk to each other. And then also do more for the channel for the members, because you guys have been freaking awesome, and you guys are great, and we'll do some live streams and stuff because they're fun. But we're going to do videos about different Jazz transactions because there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot, and I got to cover it, and SLC Dunk never dies. Shout out SLC Dunk. Go to SLC Dunk. Guys, that's all I got for you tonight. Make sure that if you're new here, like and subscribe to the channel. Shout out to our new rookies on the team. I appreciate it. You're amazing. Thank you to everyone else. Let's give our season finale shout out to the All-Stars. And of course, I forgot to bring it up before. Actually, let's refresh. Let's just make sure. But you guys are incredible. I want to just give a shout out to the All-Stars for one last time this season before the season starts soon. It starts very soon. Let's see. All right. All right. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. Let's play. Let's do. I really enjoyed this last time. You guys are going to see my preferences on YouTube. Do you guys know that I like to watch tooth cleaning videos? Why did I search my own name? I'm drunk. Let's see. Oh, that's right, because I was searching for this. All right. Let's see.
What's up, everyone? It's Doton Rider.
Let's see. Anyone want to buy a t-shirt? I actually...
Let's see.
All right, let's see. Dun, 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 dun. All right, Zap Watts, the stud from the original Hoops Nintendo game. Shout out to Zap Watts. Let's give a shout out to Total Game Domination, TGD, Christian House Money to Haas, Tyson Price, The Price is Right, Baby Elliott Matson, X marks the spot for Zintas, Jordan the Goat Best Roll, Joshua Hansen, the Danish Destroyer, and one Anton Warren, Ezekiel Ricibe, the man for Down Under, JT Buckets Wardell, Austin R. Grant, Editor Extraordinaire, Eric C., the C stands for Champion, Donald Schooley, schooling all of us, DWCB, Darren Williams, and Carlos Buzur, Jorge Arrizaga, mi amigo de abajo, Lee Christensen driving the lane, Petra Kukubo, the connoisseur, and Robert Hall of Fame. Dun 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 dun. All right. Anyways, guys, it's been an incredible season with you guys. Maybe not for the Jazz, but it's been an incredible season for you guys, and this channel's been a blast. We've grown, we've had fun, it's evolved. We've got the NBA channel. Make sure you subscribe to it because I will be doing more stuff with them, and I might do a little mix of both this offseason. So if you haven't subscribed to the NBA channel already, make sure you do because the goal is to grow that. And I started a cooking channel. I might work on that this summer as well. And I'll give a link to anyone who wants to subscribe to it because that would be really great. It's really going to be fun for me. Just kind of a side hobby that I'm going to enjoy doing. But anyways, thank you again to all you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the donations. If I missed anybody, let me know. But I believe we talked to everyone. Christian House, Money to Haas, Jordan the GOAT, all the All-Stars, Robert Hall of Fame. Again, thank you for the big donations, you guys. It's been an incredible season with you guys. I hope you all sleep very well tonight, and I will see you on the other side. I'm taking tomorrow off, although I will write an article. And then we start the off season, the best time of year. All right, guys.